You know, let's go over an unpopular wrestling opinion. Now, of course, blah 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 blah. The Fiend's been wasted. The Fiend is overrated. I feel like the Bray Wyatt by itself is overrated. By the instance that no part of his gimmick can get him over, and that's off the creative's fault. In the aspects of his characteristics, not being a major selling point on why people want to watch a pay-per-view. Now, the most major thing that I got the most optimism over the since 2019 was just borderline the Fiend decimating everybody, especially Seth Rollins that packed up a terrible reputation off social media. And that just sourced so much heat that he turned heel after he lost the Universal Championship. And now we have Bray Wyatt becoming a centralized jobber. The only way he can sense himself being a strong competitor is to win these cinematic cluster Fs of matches that source a character being overly cryptic that doesn't make him borderline complex, makes the bookers too hard to read if they really want to make this guy strong or not. I think they're doing way too much to protect Bray, but bring the sense of that he's not that consistent for the viewers, for fans to get behind or source interest from. And I think he's not that captivating in general. Like a majority of why he even turned to the Fiend to begin with, because he knew his career was turning into just shambles, and he was becoming a centralized jobber that only wins matches against guys like Shorty G and Apollo Crews, and sometimes I think Angel Garza, and just completely withered away over the main event scene. And then we made this indestructible force that's an alter ego to a different Bray Wyatt that's still sadistic, but has an outside part of itself. All I knew was this was just going to be a rip-off Jekyll and Hyde thing, but I know this was just going to like centralize over the Fiend. So like, fine. Then Hell in a Cell happened. Then Hell in a Cell ended, and then oh my God, Hell in a Cell ended that way. I don't want to entirely like just shovel the character that that running blob that took in like several headshots and curb stomps and a sledgehammer straight to the noggin is indestructible. And then they ended it off ref stoppage because Rollins was doing too much. Really undersold the character over so much, and if they just went along with Rollins doing too much and he still kicked out, would at least sold a bit that it's going to take a lot more than just regular weapons and just sheer willpower to beat the Fiend. And then you made him just gonna PC whiny feud with John Cena on the semblance that he didn't get him over. Then he started losing and losing and losing to people like Dean Ambrose before John Moxley happened. Roman Reigns consistently. The Shield consistently. Jericho, freaking Chris Jericho, tag with Matt Hardy. They should have been a tag team in heaven. And that didn't even end up going nowhere. They ruined the broken gimmick. They were losing so much hope for Bray Wyatt. They even rip off other successful gimmicks over the decade to try to get him over in the factoid that they're actually making a mythos for him. That he actually has a dead sister named Sister Abigail that he cross dresses as, and Alexa Bliss is his long lost sister or something, or he actually has these uh, relationship with Braun Strowman, even though he only lasted like under a year in the Wyatt family to begin with. So the factor that I have any sort of emotional investment, or at least some sort of investment with Braun and Bray feuding, is completely thrown out the window. I don't like seeing this feud on SmackDown. It's already a waste enough seeing Braun be champion. No part of him shows a semblance of him being intimidating, threatening, or badass. Any source of him actually being exciting to watch was back when we hated Roman Reigns. Even I didn't even get the reason. I don't even hate the guy particularly. I thought he got overbooked too much, but I thought he was a fine top guy. Just didn't have that much of a personality. and it's just depressing. I don't know why, that this guy was so over the top. 2K20 came out that I bought, and I didn't even wish. I didn't waste any time to get the Fiend. I didn't want to get him. I didn't. Just centralized Bray Wyatt. Over armor to the max. No one cares about the Fiend anymore. And the essence of just him just losing where it should matter, still using the same overly cryptic, dumb, dumb videos with no rhyme or reason, showing no source of intimidation, and don't try to pull any hype factor over him mouth raping Alexa Bliss, abducting him to have a personal feud with Braun Strowman, because that's his sort of bestie, but we ship them because we like masturbating to these women whenever we see weird pictures of their asses close up. And it's just not interesting. Like, they have really overhyped Bray Wyatt to the max, that they made The Fiend the only current guy on the main roster be paid for you to play as him, other than the legends, and they haven't no intentions of making you play for Dominic Dijakovic. I don't think you can still play as Keith Lee for some apparent reason. Majority of the NXT UK stars, or network exclusive pay-per-views, or anything. Just the Fiend, because he's spooky and scary, over, overly exaggeratingly cryptic, and he does creepy stuff. So he just repackages the Fiend with Mega Armor, or at least buffed Mega Armor, because they want to make sure that he's still weak and to get beaten up by the babyface. No part of that is exciting. I feel like we already wasted the Fiend in general, and us just expecting the most out of Bray that already hasn't got the best out of his career, except two lackluster world title reigns, and you had one forgettable reign with the Raw Tag Team titles with Matt Hardy. Do I feel like Bray Wyatt deserved more? Absolutely. I wish the best for him. Hopefully he gets a major league top spot. He stops with the feed mask because of so many dumbass creations. His dumb little ripped off foreskin championship that he made. To at least it's better than looking at the WWE logo all the time on a piece of leather. And that's about it. I feel no interest into the Fiend. It's just Bray Wyatt wearing a mask, and he just no sells a lot. The mythos of him is completely worthless if we already know the character. And this was just plot armor because people still have faith in Bray Wyatt being the top of the line heel for the company, even though he already got matches against top of the line guys and won the world title against already multiple guys at Elimination Chamber. Do I feel like he should have been repackaged? In my opinion, no. He already worked up to the character. He has already been built up for several years, so just repackaging that made no sense. No semblance of adapting things. I already felt like the Fiend lost its luster. Like, I'm not gonna say until Hell in a Cell, until like weeks before Hell in a Cell, when they kept week after week on SmackDown and Raw, just doing skit after skit after skit. Like, we get it. We know what the Fiend is. Other than him just randomly attacking other people. And it's not even for a common goal or target, even though he was targeting the world champion. And that wouldn't be until Clash of Champions he actually did that. I'm just gonna do a small little suggestion for most of you guys. Keep your expectations low, like we already do for Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. That's why in the source of most of my reviews, I do my reviews late, so I can just slow down, keep my opinions, uh, you know, neutral. I want to have good energy. I'm not gonna do it freaking late at like do my Raw review like at middle of midnight when I'm gonna have very little energy, and they wasted most of my energy off a 3 hour episodic Monday night show. That's stupid, and it's really exhausting. It's irrelevant that the review even comes out a tiny bit late, but yeah, it's a review. It's supposed to be a borderline critique, and it's already taped. So anybody being worried that I do a late review of a taped show, that's your loss. Many other YouTubers to go by. Uh, yeah. So it probably is just me. I've talked to a few YouTubers, smaller YouTubers, of course, and because I gotta go on my level, and some wrestling fans that I know around my area that the Fiend really lost most of its momentum, and it came off the losses over from Rollins, from Braun already to freaking 50, pushing 50 Goldberg. I think he's pushing 60 now. I don't know. So it just feels like we're just rooting him for some semblance of a top star on SmackDown. Because Roman Reigns is already out. We already lost Dolph Ziggler, that's at least some seasoned veteran in the business, even if he should have released a long time ago. Baron Corbin, that's I hate, but he's at least competent enough to be notable as a top star. I mean, he is king of the ring, so that just brings him at least some sort support to the top of the card. So I will give him that. And Bray Wyatt, because at least he's exempt enough to be a top star with all this hype, promo time, overlining skits, and just most of his momentum. Even though with no crowd, it just loses most of its energy, in my opinion. So, how you feel in the comments below about how they're dealing with Braun Strowman? I feel like it's already a done deal. I think most people already lost most of their anticipation for what they were doing for Braun. I mean, for Bray Wyatt. I already have my opinion on Braun Strowman. Many people already think he's a disappointment. I do too. So, that's it coming from the DST show. Like, comment, and subscribe. How you feel about this? That's it coming from me.